Hi there, my name is Helen Powell and I'm the Lincolnshire independent candidate for the parliamentary elections.
Welcome to the Lincolnite, Helen.
Thank you.
Let's begin with housing and development. Obviously it's a really important issue for a lot of voters in the city. There are more than 3,000 people on the City Council waiting list and there's a general shortage of housing in Lincoln. How would you address that?
Well, I think there's 2 or 3 different ways actually. I know we need, excuse me, more new development, and obviously that's got to be on brownfield site, but I feel it's got to be more creative thinking than we're actually doing at the moment. And I think we can take a leaf out of the book of people in Italy and wherever with their setup. I also think that with the housing, the amount of housing that's actually sitting dormant and not renovated, way back in the 60s, 70s I think it was, there were grants available for new roofs and new bathrooms, kitchens, things like that, and a lot of those properties could be brought back into use, and then the cost on them would actually be recouped by the renting out once they're put back in. Whoever owns them, it doesn't matter who owns them, they have to be put back in use and made to be used to a high standard, obviously.
And what issues do you think there are regarding student accommodation in the city?
Yes, I understand about that, and I quite sympathise with those people, and yes, that has got to be addressed. It will have to be addressed, yeah.
And how would you look to address it?
Well, that will be in exactly the same way as the properties that are dormant at the moment, you know, in or brownfield sites, wherever we could actually find an ideal place for more housing, you know, more dorms and whatever.
Okay, let's move on to business and the economy. It's another really important issue to voters in the city.
Yeah.
What issues and measures would you implement to help businesses grow and prosper in the city, addressing the skills gap on the one hand and ensuring that workers are paid a decent wage on the other?
That's a big question.
It is.
That's a lot. Well, I think to start with, you've got 2 types of business. You've got the small business, like the Federation of Small Businesses, that are looking for something completely different to what the big corporate businesses would be looking for. With the big corporate businesses, I do believe we could have a massive big exposition and get some promotions and merchandising events arranged for that to attract a lot more traders, a lot more customers, and also it raises the profile of Lincoln. We could also, with the smaller businesses as well, we discussed at the hustings we had there, create like totally locally weekend, so that everybody on a certain weekend all put forward various things in their shops, in their businesses, special deals, and everyone in the area made a special effort to go down and support those businesses. And the third part of your question I've forgotten now, what was that?
And to do with workers paying a decent wage.
That's right.
Yeah, so 20% of workers in Lincoln are paid less than the living wage.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, we're in the 21st century, and with the big ask of everyone to actually bring their family up and get them educated and, you know, live a life to their potential, you've actually got to have the money to do that. And the money, an elderly chap once told me, Helen, the money is in the world. The money is there. It's just not circulating around properly. And I do also think that with the taxes and everything on the lower earners, it's ridiculous that you've got to pay tax probably up to £15,000 when you're struggling to live and bring your own family up. And I think with having the freedom to spend your own money, support your own businesses, then you would be better, and the country would be better off because you could support all the economy.
Okay, let's move on to schools and higher education. Lincoln has not one but 2 universities which are both growing and both getting better.
Yeah.
Do you think it's right for most students today though to start their working life with at least £27,000 worth of debt?
No, I can't believe that is the case. Both my daughters are saying that, you know, they're expected to work till they're 70 years old as well, which I think is totally against, you know, human rights of some description, because when you're working, you're really working the whole day. You don't really get time to do anything else after work, and to expect people to work and just have the holidays they have right up to the age of 70, I think is outrageous. We've got to change the balance here, because for all the youngsters who have worked the socks off to get the qualification and everything through uni, they then don't want to be faced with, well, there might not be any jobs. There might not be any jobs, but when you get a job, you're going to have to work till you're 70, and we're not really sure whether there's going to be a pension at the end of it or not. So that's definitely got to be addressed, and I think with the skills base and the mismatch, we've got to get the corporates, we've got to get the businesses, we've got to get the students, and we've actually got to get the training, the teacher training places all on board in one room to begin with, because we're just not firing at the right corner. Shots are going all over the place, and as a consequence, there's 40,000 people training to be hairdressers, but there's only 4,000 places.
Okay.
Lack of engineers, which I think would be a fantastic, exciting job. So there's an awful lot to do there. I can see there's an awful lot to do there, but it would be exciting.
Okay, so how would you like to see higher education funded?
Higher education funded, I think the big corporate concerns have got a responsibility. They are, there's one in a big place in Peterborough, and they make, £1 billion profit a year or something, and I think they are expecting people to go and work for them. I feel that they should actually have some sort of responsibility in the training of students and people for those roles. So there's a lot of areas that the money could come from. I just don't believe the students should be paying that themselves at all.
Okay, let's move on to the NHS and particularly pressure on NHS services.
Yeah.
Lincoln's made the news, and Lincolnshire made the news not exactly for the right reasons, to do with health service in hospitals. A shortage of staff and money has plunged ULHT on black alert over the winter, and despite budget cuts, the Trust has paid more than £30 million in negligence compensation. How would you address these problems?
Well, it's bad management. At the end of the day, it's bad management. No foresight, no vision. We know how many people. There's 700,000 people live in Lincolnshire, and more in the summer. There's got to be a plan drawn up so the capacity of each of those hospitals are actually capable of dealing with that. And when they're short in another hospital, they should be able to share between each other where the staff are needed. There's never ever going to be a situation where we've got too many staff, because we've always got, with our natural thing in Lincolnshire, once you get a bit older, if you live down south or work down south, they love to come and live in Lincolnshire. We've got a fantastic county to live in. So, the ageing population that we have is always going to be needing these types of things. And they've got to be paid properly, they've got to be run properly, but there's got to be a framework within which they can work to operate, where they all know the standards, they all know what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable. In the old days when you had the matron on the ward, everything was perfect, everything had to be perfect, and you've got to have that interest in your job. I think you've got to have that self-pride put back, and it doesn't come with cutting back, making staff feel bad because they're being, they feel that they're not worthy because the cuts to all their pay, and they're reduced and they're expected to do two people's jobs. That isn't promoting that person or supporting that person or making them feel good about it. And it's about time that we actually, really made these people feel their true worth and supported them properly.
Okay, last but by no means least, let's move on to a discussion about the much talked about Eastern Bypass.
Yeah.
I think most people agree there's a need for it to be built, but should it be dualled, and should it cut off Hawthorne Road?
Well, it's been a long time in the coming, and it's definitely got to be built, and we're definitely going to have an infrastructure that's suitable to reach the capacity, with them wanting to build the extra housing and everything else, another 150,000 people moving into the county. We have to have the infrastructure in place. It's got to be dualled. It has to be dualled. This morning coming in, it was just clogged up all over the place, and it's growing. The population head count is growing. So yes, it'll have to be dualled, and the funding should be there to make it dualled. And what was the other? Hawthorne Road. Yeah, I cannot believe that they're thinking about. I've been involved in all these planning and regs, and to me, I was horrified when they were going to put this road in, but then block off, one of the main arterial routes for the villagers into the city. So I don't believe that should be blocked off, and I believe that all the walkers, the children on the bicycles, the people going to the schools, the villagers, should have free and safe passage over that. That's the fundamental right, surely. For a long, long time, I've been involved with issues that weren't being addressed when I came back to look after my mother, and really enjoy the work, and have found that being an independent, I can find where the best solutions are, put that forward. And being a Lincolnshire independent, I have that right. We all sign up as Lincolnshire independents to do whatever's best for the electorate in that area and the people that have elected us, and that's what I always have done and always will.